I inherited my hair and my depression from my father. This story, I assure you, is not about depression. My father, Appa, as I used to call him in the language of Tamil from South India, had a full head of hair till he died. Well, almost. At an age where people around him were thinning and losing his hair, he was really proud of his hair. I really think he liked to also rub it in, because he liked his hair unnaturally black. He was too cheap to go to the barber, so he found somebody who could do the job for free. Me. I was in my teens when I started dyeing my father's hair, and instead of using like a cape that sort of surrounds your upper body, we used a lungi, which is a kind of a sarong worn in southern India. And this is India in the 1990s, so I didn't have no gloves. By the time I'd finished the job, my fingers looked like they were dipped in black tar. The worst thing about this whole experience was the smell. Imagine the times that you've tried to overfill gasoline in your car and that spills over your fingers. That kind of smell, only 10 times as worse. But when I'd finished the job, which was always a great job, it was me, Appa looked at the mirror and was on cloud 9. Even in his adulthood, Appa had like this childlike grin on his face, and he was like doubly proud of how good his hair looked. It seemed so worth it. I started my undergrad year of college. I was an adult now, so I emphatically announced, Appa, I'm not going to dye your hair anymore. He didn't care. He had a steady supply of child labor. My sister had just entered her teens. And I went on to my second and third year of my undergrad, and at this point I literally had a rebellious streak. I decided to have blonde streaks in my hair. So I went to the same local barber, the one that my father wouldn't go, but also cheapness runs into the family and I could not afford a stylist. The barber did use a cape. But when he started the job, there was this horrible smell. It was worse than the hair dye. It was the smell of rotten eggs. And when he finished the job, I asked the barber, like, dude, what did you use? He said, hydrogen peroxide, sir, cheap and best. A guy had not even used an off-the-shelf coloring agent. And yes, it looked as bad as you could imagine. Like, imagine a darky brown guy in glasses, French goatee, and a blonde streak of hair running. It was terrible. What I was more worried was Appa's reaction, which was surprisingly muted. It was just like a condescending smile. And I think under which I could loudly hear, dumb bloody idiot, and he thinks me dyeing my hair is a bad thing. Now, I thought this mistake was going to be short-lived. I mean, it's hair, it grows back, right? Wrong. 2 weeks after this incident, I had to take a picture for my passport. Yeah, this streaked hair stayed on my passport for 10 long years. This rebellious kid went on to become a prim and proper management consultant. And every time I crossed the border, the passport officer would do a double take. Yeah, and there was usually a joke exchanged. In July 2007, I was back in India. There were no jokes given, none taken. I went home, dropped my bags, went with my relatives to the morgue. And as we were pulling out his cold body, I noticed that his head was shaven. Once, where there was a full head of hair, there were gray roots sprouting out. The same gray ones that I would meticulously touch up. Appa was in a road accident head injury, died a week later after in coma. We thought he was going to make it. I sometimes think that had he known that the hospital people were going to shave his head to do whatever they needed to, he would have jolted out of his coma. But that was not to be. The man was gone, as was his proud hair. I am in my early 40s now, the same age as when Appa was, when his hair started graying. While the whiff of a hair dye will always prevent me from dyeing my hair, every time I see a gray hair sprout on me, I see a little bit of Appa in me. Thank you for listening.